Well, welcome confirmation class for First Lutheran and Our Saviors. So this is for first year students, and this is also for those that only missed the class on Sunday, the 25th of October. So if you attend those, I welcome you to watch this, but you aren't required to watch it. So the worksheet to fill out to get credit for this class will be in the description. So please look at that. So today we're going to talk about Genesis. So Genesis is one of the more important books in the Bible, and what I want you to think about today is why that is. And so what we need to think about is the core meaning of Genesis, which is that we are all made in the image of God. So I know that Genesis has lots of weird and fantastical stories. And it's also one of the longest books in the Bible. And so we're going to be skipping over a lot of that. So if you have questions about that, please just talk to me about it, and we'll find a time to do that. So, but we are going to talk about four main stories. The first is the creation of humanity. The second is the fall of humanity. The third is the covenant with Noah. And the fourth is the covenant with Abraham. So let's start with our first one. So this is Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. And we go all the way through chapter 2, verse 4. So it's a long one. Then God said, "Let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that we may rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground." Then God said, "Let us make mankind in our image, according to our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the wild animals of the earth, over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth." So God created humankind in his image. The image of God he created them, male and female he created them. God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves on the earth." God said, "See, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is upon the face of the earth, every tree with seed in its fruit, you shall have them for food. And to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the air, and to everything that creeps on the earth, everything that has the breath of life, I have given every green plant for food." And it was so. God saw everything he made, and it was indeed good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all their multitude. And on the seventh day God finished the work he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all the work that he had done. So God blessed the seventh day and hallowed it, because on it God rested from all the work that he had done in creation. These generations of the heavens and the earth when they were created. Right, so that's quite a long chapter, so I'm glad you bared with me. But here's the thing. What do you guys think it means to be made in God's image? Well, I think it's having the characteristics of God. Now, I know there's a lot of people that will think of other things like the physical, that we look like God. I'm not sure that's quite true, but it might be. Mentally, might be. We can do things that animals cannot. But I think what's more important is when we go down this road, that we can communicate. We can talk to one another. We have emotions. So we can laugh, we can cry, and we can find joy, and we can be happy. And we love. But here's what I think is the most important. We all know who we are. Well, to some extent. We think, therefore we are. So we are. We are conscious, and we know that we are conscious. I think these are the most important things to see from Genesis, from this chapter. Now, I know that a lot of other people will think the most important things is that God created everything in 6 days and did it in this order. But I think the most important thing is that God created everything, and it was good. I think going further into that in a short time, it really doesn't help. But if you want to go further into that, let me know, and we will. Okay, all right? All right. So Genesis 3 is also long, and I know that you weren't present in class, so I'm going to ask that you read it yourself. So what we are going to do is we're just going to go over it a little bit. So God said to Adam and Eve that you can eat from every tree except for this one, and if you eat from it, you'll die. So the serpent comes up and tells them, no, that's not true. What's going to happen is you're going to become like God. Now remember, from the previous one, they were already made in God's image, so they already are like God. They're just not the same as God, I guess. It's like they're it's like an echo of God, I guess is the way you would want to say it. And so what ends up happening is that they end up ignoring what God said, and they go and take from the tree. And what ends up happening is now they realize everything now that they have eaten from the tree. And so because they ate from the tree, now they start to hide from God. It's because they didn't even know they were naked before they ate it. And then they say that the serpent deceived me. And I think that's the core here, is the serpent deceived them. You see, everything was good in this whole story until this point. And it's not really the fact that the serpent deceived them, it's more that there was no trust. So Adam and Eve trusted the serpent over God. And this is kind of like the whole beginning of why sin is in our world. It's basically a lack of trust of God. And so we read this story, and it doesn't really matter who you are or what you are. Basically, this story tells us that we all fall short. And it also tells us another thing. We aren't new. This has happened since the beginning of time. And so then we have Noah. So Noah was this guy that God found that was without blemish. I'm not really sure what that means. A lot of people took it to mean that he's perfect morally. So he gets this thing from God. He's to build an ark and put 2 of every animal on it. And then the rains come. He saves all the people and all the animals. And then when the rain subside, then he is to start over. So in other words, he's kind of like Adam, but it's like a do-over. And so here is the thing, is that there is the same thing that is told to Adam and Eve about the dominion of the earth. They say that again to Noah. So Noah is to do the same thing again. But this time, God promises not to do another flood. And the thing that's amazing about this is that God is loving our people so much, us, everybody in God's house, that he gives us all of the earth. So this is running long, so I want to move on. So the next one is on Abraham. So Abraham is an ancestor of the Jewish people. So in our text that we're going to have you read, he's given a blessing. And the blessings are called a covenant. So we talked about that with Noah. So a covenant is kind of like a contract, but it's one of those contracts where you care more about the relationship with the person than you do about whether or not they follow it to the letter. So what is happening is God saying, I want to have a relationship with you, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is what you're going to do, and then you'll be blessed as part of that covenant. So we'll get more into covenants as we get into Moses, but I just wanted you to know about that right now, and that's why I'm having you read it. So I'm sorry that you weren't able to be in class, but you know, We live in strange times right now, and I hope to see you next time.